The Spiritual Series podcast, and we're back with another episode with Supriya Chechi. And we are on the ninth chapter. Last remembered in the 26th verse we were discussing, right?
Correct.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Kannan. Happy to be back. We are getting to the end of this crucial chapter. Hare Krishna and Jai. Verse 20.
Uh, yeah. 26th, right? 27.
27. We start with the 27th verse today. We finished 26. So, just a quick recap in this earlier section. The 26th verse is, of course, because it's talking of how if you offer just a little water or a leaf or a flower or fruit with devotion, uh, Krishna will accept it. And here the key word or the crucial word is devotion. But just before this, there was some general condemnation of demigods. If you remember, the demigod worship, those who worship demigods are actually worshipping me, but avidhi purvakam, in a wrong way, in an incorrect way. So then the question comes up: there's actually the Bhagavad Gita itself it comes from the Mahabharata, and in the Mahabharata there's a lot of demigod worship in different contexts and situations. If you think of it, I think it is just before the battle starts. Arjuna is asked by Krishna to pray to Devi because she represents the material energy and the success can be granted only by her. So he steps down from his chariot apparently and prays to her. Then the father of Draupadi, Drupad, worships Lord Shiva very intensely before he gets these two children, Draupadi and her brother Drishtadyumna. So like that, there are a lot of examples of Arjuna himself worships. um I think Shiva again to get certain weapons for his because he's such an archer and a warrior. So it's a little perplexing because although the Bhagavad Gita is situated in that same epic, the Mahabharata, it's like here is a clear condemnation of demigod worship. So I think what's to be understood is you have to see that every book has a certain focus or it's got a target audience. Now the Mahabharata, which is so influential in India across class, strata, gender, age, and so on, is basically pitched at the level of the karma kanda mentality. Okay, so the target audience of the Mahabharata, despite all its popularity, is the karma kanda mentality. That is, you do your duty, you need certain resources to get through life and to do your duties itself. For example, you need a son if you want your last rites to be done properly according to the Vedic tradition after you're dead. You need a wife, preferably wealthy wife, who will bolster you, or a loyal wife, and you need money to do your duties, to build a house, to set you so many. You need good health firstly,
I
to
think
to
somewhere I had heard that most of the people, like most of the Hindus, at least in India, like most of them are like karmakandis in the sense that
Sure.
they have that like majority of them are like because they believe in the idea that you go to the temple, you pray to God, then you might get something from you
That's
might
right.
get something from that. And
Right.
so
Yeah,
like bhakti yoga and like jnana yoga and all that are like very much in the minority of uh, you
very
know
much. Right.
yeah.
A small percentage of the karma kandis may look beyond this mentality and this way of approaching the gods. So therefore the demigods in a lot of the Mahabharata you'll see. Then after this, when Ramanujacharya appeared on the scene, he vociferously apparently condemned demigod worship. And he gave the example of a loyal wife, a chaste wife who is loyal only to one husband, not that she pleases this demigod and that demigod and so on. And there's an interesting twist to this because Ramanujacharya went on his yatra across India and also stopped in Jagannath Puri. Now, the same Lord Jagannath, who is such a focal point of Vaishnava Gaudiya, ISKCON, and Mahaprabhu, and so on. If you look into the actual worship that goes on according to tradition in Puri, Jagannath is worshipped very much in a karma kandi way. People approach him with prayers requesting certain results or something back in return. The pandas or the pujaris are very money minded. The whole mood there, because it's very much part of larger India. So Ramanujacharya apparently went there and could not relate to this karma kanda mentality, and he tried to change something in the worship. I think it was something quite mild or superficial, like the cloth that they were using for Lord Jagannath. Actually, there is a very ritualistic mentality in that Jagannath worship. So many, after so many years, the wood has to be, the deities have to be kind of thrown away, and new deities have to be carved. A particular type of wood has to be found, a Daru Brahman tree, and the tree has to have life inside it, and there are certain tests to do it. Whereas when ISKCON makes Jagannath deities, it's not like that at all. It's more at a practical level, and then we infuse worship and devotion, and the deity starts reciprocating. But actual the Jagannath Puri Jagannath worship is steeped in this ritualistic mentality. So Ramanujacharya, because of his general objections to the karmakanda mentality and this demigod worship mentality, and in fact, inside the Jagannath Puri complex, there are a lot of other demigods, there are a lot of altars. So Ramanujacharya apparently tried to interfere and change their mood and point out something which the Pandas didn't like. And that night, when Ramanujacharya was sleeping, it is said, it is written even by Ramanuja followers, that Jagannath came in and gave him one big kick or blow. And when he woke up, he found himself somewhere else. He found himself in Kurmashetra. He thought he was inside a Shiva temple. And Ramanujacharya was aghast, because Ramanuja was only for Vishnu. And he couldn't understand how he left Puri and landed up in a Shiva temple. He was very disturbed. And then he discovered it's not a Shivalinga, but basically it's a Kurma temple. But he still couldn't understand. And then he figured out that Lord Jagannath was upset with his interference, because he had been receiving a certain kind of worship from the locals, and he didn't want any interference in the practices. So Ramanujacharya is said to have written very clearly a clarification of his interference, and said it's just that he is arguing that, like a chaste wife is loyal only to her husband, devotees who worship should worship only Vishnu and not also dabble in demigod worship. So this is Ramanuja. But by the time Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears on the scene, you can see in different situations where he's very accommodating of demigod worship. Now, by the time Srila Prabhupada appears on the scene, things are still further deteriorated in terms of the general degradation and the extreme business mentality of people who claim to be religious. So Srila Prabhupada saw the need of the hour, and he sticks to what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, that no devata worship. Demigod is actually a word that was coined by Srila Prabhupada himself. Like you say, a circle and a semicircle. Like that, God and a demigod, partially God. So a lot of people who are come new to ISKCON even ask us why this term uh, demigod, it is so contemptuous almost, as if they are not full gods, whether it is Shiva or Devi or Ganapati or um, Subramanya and Kartikeya and so on. So Srila Prabhupada's point was that that business mentality is very much an obstacle on the path of bhakti. And that is why Krishna is condemning it here. And Prabhupada takes the same mood and strongly preaches or teaches against that kind of demigod worship, that it slows us down. It's fear based. It's based on this idea of some barter. I give you something and you give me something. So that's the reason why, although the Mahabharata is peppered with examples of demigods being revered or worshipped, the Bhagavad Gita, which is in that same, situated within that same epic, is takes a very different line, and Krishna comes out very strongly. This because the target audiences are different. The Mahabharata, the target audience is very much the general karmakandis of India. The Bhagavad Gita, it's not so at all. it's the target audience or the focus is very much people who are aspiring to get out once and for all and get out of this material cycle and not just have to keep coming back to take reactions given to the good deeds they have done. So this 26th verse which we saw last time is a pure bhakti verse. And just a quick recap, the classic example is of Vidura, who was so excited when the Lord came to his house unannounced that he unknowingly was serving the peels of the banana and throwing away the bananas, and the Lord was even tasting that or eating that because he saw there was just so much devotion. And somebody else who goes in there says, gosh, Duryodhana laid out an opulent feast for the Lord, but he refused to eat it. Whereas here in Vidura's house, he's willing to eat just anything, even the peels of a fruit. So that's because it's the devotion of the love that the Lord wants. And then the question comes up, does the Lord really eat? Does a deity really eat this food? Because it's not as if the food disappears or gets reduced. And the point is that the Lord can eat with any of his senses. It doesn't have to be necessarily that he opens his mouth and eats. Just by glancing at the food, he can consume it, and it is understood he has taken it or eaten it or relished it. And the point is that when there is real devotion in our heart, we try to offer the best that we have. It's not like we can argue and say the Lord is not interested in the offering. He's actually interested only in the love behind it. That's true. But that does not mean that you are give some shabby offerings and say it's the love that matters. In fact, if there is genuine love in our heart, whatever we can afford, the best that we can afford, the tendency is to give. So you will see
That's why
devotees. Yeah,
that's
go
why
on.
they say like no, it's just that saying is, like you offer. It's always better when food is offered with love. That that saying is there. Like when
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
when when you're sitting and having food with like family or friends, then if one of your family or friends like makes food for you or for the group of people, it's like offered with like a sense of like love, and that's almost like the food may not be like if it's like your friend, like one of your friends makes it, it may not be that good, but still like if it's
Yeah,
offered with love, then you still like okay, this person made with like you still like that better than the
sure.
that you still prefer that over like maybe going to a fancy restaurant
Fancy
and
five-star hotel where everything is
uh,
pucked up, but there is no good camaraderie and mood and love
yeah,
and affection. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a simple material way of describing the situation. That's true, a material parallel.
yeah,
And so that's why we try to give the best that we have. And remember that Krishna actually is not impressed just by a lot of opulence or opulent offerings. It's just the steadiness with which we offer. And like if you're offering a banana and water, that we should do that every day, because by the time it's understood the Lord is a person and he's waiting for that banana and water. You see, that's why the steadiness and punctuality is very important in deity worship, because we're treating the Lord as a person. He starts waiting, like say you're used to drinking a cup of tea at a particular time, say someone makes it and brings it, it starts irritating if you don't get that at that particular time. Or food, forget about tea, food. Or if there's always a sweet at the end of your lunch, when you miss it, it just spoils the whole mood. So similarly with deity worship. Now the very next verse, the 27th verse with which you're going to start today, is actually a kind of come down after the 26th verse. It's not at the same level at all. If the earlier 26th verse was a Bhakti Yoga verse, this is not like that. This is more like Nishka, it's called like a Karma Yoga verse. Prabhupada himself clarified it, and we will see why and how. So, can we chant together, please, the 27th verse?
yeah. So
Yat
yeah,
karoshi
she
yad
ashnas
yadashnasi yad
yad
juhosi dadasi yat
yad yad
yat tapasyasi
pasya
kaunteya tat
tat purushva
purusya madarpanam. Again.
yad
Yat
karosh
karoshi yadashnasi
yad
yad
juho
juhosi
yadas
dadasi yat
yad
yat
tapasya
tapasyasi
kaunteya
kaunteya
tat
tat
purushva
Purushamadharpanam. Again.
yad
Yat
karoshi
karoshi yadashnasi.
yad
Yat juhosi dadasi yat.
yad
Yat
tapasya
tapasyasi
kaunteya
kaunteya. Tat
Tatpurushva
Purushamadharpanam. Okay. So it's simple. Please read the translation.
Yeah, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kanti, as an offering to me.
Okay, so this is different from saying eat, do only what pleases me, or eat only what I recommend, or offer or give away only what I approve of. This is like I said, it's a come down. It's coming down to a lower platform, and this is proof or evidence that the Bhagavad Gita doesn't necessarily move only progressively upwards. Within the same chapter, you will see up and down. Now, here you have to be made aware of what is called Prabhupada's Bhakti Elevator. As the translator of the Bhagavad Gita, and like such an influential and popular Bhagavad Gita, he takes a certain liberty with these verses which are not quite Bhakti verses. What he does is he gives a kind of purport which elevates that verse back to a Bhakti platform.
Okay.
So it draws a certain amount of criticism from commentators and translators of other traditions. And why is Prabhupada doing it? This is not a Bhakti Yoga verse at all. But if you see the purport, Prabhupada takes the whole, and it's, you can't say twists a meaning out of it, but he kind of kicks and elevates it back up to a Bhakti Yoga verse. So then one senior devotee in ISKCON called Shivaram Swami, this is 10 years ago, took it upon himself to explain why Prabhupada is doing. And there's a very scholarly book called The Bhakti Vedanta Purports. And somewhere inside it says the Bhakti Elevator, or Srila Prabhupada's Bhakti Elevator. Because it's not only in these verses, many other verses. The verse itself is Karma Yoga, the verse itself is Ashtanga or Dhyana Yoga. Then we start looking at the whole purport, it's the whole thing is again going on about Bhakti. So the explanation that is given by those who knew Prabhupada closely and who understand his mood is that Prabhupada did not want any reader to even accidentally miss the Bhakti track. So although Krishna himself is giving various options, and at the end he even tells Arjuna, take what you like, and are you convinced, and what did you decide, and that's the mood. But Prabhupada is not taking any such chances at all, because he knows, out of his compassion for the jiva, he's not trying to argue that everyone must come to ISKCON. That's not what he's saying. It's just that that bhakti track should not be missed by anybody, the bhakti elevator, because that's the only one that will actually unstick us. We are so stuck life after life with our desires and our lamentations and our grievances. Icha, dvesha, samuthena, the icha and the dvesha, what we like and what we don't like. So this ding dong has been going on life after life, and that's what brings us back. We have so many grievances, so we take another birth to try to process those grievances and get happy again. So like that, Prabhupada wants us to get unstuck, and only if we get onto that bhakti track will that happen. Because when bhakti flowers in the heart and a certain liking or a great attraction for the Supreme Lord takes place, that attraction is so powerful, it will unstick us, or get us unstuck from the cycle of birth and death. That's what's called the bhakti elevator. You will see it more once you, when you reread and you start being alert to this, you will see what is clearly a verse by Krishna that is not a bhakti verse. But in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, he elevates it and goes back to talking about bhakti. So let's see what he says here in the purport. Please read.
Yeah. So it says, thus, it is a duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to offer some ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me, and this is called Archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me, and this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra around his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, so what's actually being said here in this verse is whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer. This is really referring to our life member category in ISKCON. We have so many life members who have made some sort of commitment many years ago, sometimes even when Prabhupada was there, paid that full amount, would come to our temples at least for festivals, got a whole set of books, which books were published by then as a part of the deal. You pay this much, even now I think you pay 20 or
Uh,
25,000, you
I
get the
think
full
it's
set of
one. I think it's 1 lakh. I checked sometime recently.
what? It's gone up to 1 lakh.
Yeah, I think
No.
I checked. I think I checked somewhere recently only. I think it
Did
was.
you see which temple? Normally it
I
should be
think it was.
uniform.
I think it was
Juhu.
Bangalore.
No, that's different. The Bangalore, that big temple is very different. It's not following anything like our regular ISKCON.
Ah, okay. So then,
Life member, look in Pune, and by the way, Pune Chowpati, they don't believe in the life membership at all. They
oh,
eliminated that whole category because they feel it creates a whole lot of people who never seriously commit to Krishna.
okay.
But Juhu, you will find Juhu ISKCON has, Trivandrum ISKCON has, Kolkata ISKCON has
Yeah,
life member.
here it's where is it? Lightman. Yeah, they're just saying there are more than 50,000 people in this, but they're not.
It won't give you the amount so obviously, because one is that I think it will keep changing over the years.
But there's some here is showing it's called Ganga Sagar
That's
where
different. Yeah, Ganga Sagar is in West Bengal, and on Makar Sankranti they do a big thing. But more than that, what is there?
there's some
Life
minimum
will.
donation of 35,000.
Yeah, yeah, that is more real, because when I joined it was 2025. It must have climbed up to
Okay,
35 now. So in Prabhupada's time, I don't know how much it was, but it was 500 or some princely sum according to those times. So
when I was
this verse,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
this particular verse is actually pitched at the level of the life member. That you may not eat only prasadam, you may not do only devotional service, you may not offer puja, whatever. But whatever you do, somehow keep me in mind and give the results to me. And what does it mean? Give the results to me. Make regular donations so that your money is used. Give your time, give your energy. You may not become a devotee willing to put Krishna in the center and to make devotional life here, but whatever it is, give the results to me. You know,
So,
so that
Supriya Chechi, sorry to interrupt you. This is where I was just like showing you that. So I went to the website, and then here, if you see, they have this thing in ISKCON Bangalore, Dharma
yeah, yeah,
Karta.
yeah.
So that's like around 1 lakh they're showing here.
No, that's
There's
because
like
this
something else in online as well. So if you click
only
on this,
remember
yeah, you'll get
just
what's special darshan, festival pass for special entry, newsletter, special pujas, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam book sets, ATG receipts, guest house accommodation facility.
okay. Now I don't know how much. All right, so this is specifically
It's from
that big
Bangalore.
the hill temple in Bangalore. All
Yeah.
right. Now I don't know if this membership will be valid in other parts of India. I'm not sure, because this temple is very much like an independent on its own. Just keep that in mind. Whereas the regular life membership, that what I'm talking about, like the 35,001, that's it will get you 2 or 3 days free stay in a life in a guest house, where there are guest houses anywhere in India, and that includes the prasadam, the meals. It gets you the whole set of books. And again, I'm not sure if that other life membership will get you into the Bangalore temple. I don't think so. This is something that it's a separate scheme, and it's something that actually you don't need it. You don't need to take that kind of membership, because you're far more committed than a regular life member. And it's much better for you if you travel anywhere, Yeah, even if it doesn't, just because you hold a regular job and you can't be like a full-time devotee, that does not make you this life member category at all. The life member generally goes through his entire life, his or her life, staying on the fringe, coming only for festivals, balancing out a lot of his other duties and demigod worships and his other aspirations. So this, what I meant is this particular verse, it's for him because at least the results, meaning the money he earns, the profit he makes, his bonus and so on, if he keeps giving back to some
Yeah.
Krishna activity, he will eventually get out of this mentality and at least in a future life come to be a proper worshipper of Krishna. So what Prabhupada is doing here is, if you see, thus it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends here that one should work for him. Everyone has something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuff offered by Krishna to Krishna. Now, already Srila Prabhupada is using the bhakti elevator to take the whole meaning up to another level. Any civilized man has to perform some religious, ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna says, "Do it for me." This is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized, etc. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical. But if anyone is able to sit down and think of Krishna 24 hours a day, doing his beats, he is surely the greatest meditator, as substantiated by 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, anyway, the next verse is telling us what will be the result, because these two verses are connected. Now in verse 28 we are going to be told what do you get by, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever, do it for me, think of me, or give it to me, give the results to me. It says here, let's chant together.
Yeah.
Shubha
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 Phaler Eva
Palairevam
Moksha
Mokshasya
Karma
Karma
Bandhana
Bandhanai Sanyas
Sanyasa Yoga
Yoga
Yuktatma
Yuktatma
To Mam
Vimukto Mam
Upayashyasi
Vaishyasi. Again,
Shubha
Shubha,
Shubha
Ashubha. Actually, it
Eva
is two opposite words here, Shubha and Ashubha. So when they come together, they go like this: Shubha, Shubha, Palairevam,
Shubha Shubha
Mokshasya
Phale Eva
Evam,
Moksha Se
Mokshasya
Karma
Karma
Bandhana
Bandhanai,
Sanyasa
Sanyasa
Yoga
Yoga
Yuktatma
Yuktatma,
Mukto
Vimukto Mam
Upayashyasi
Upaishyasi. Once more. Shubha
Shubha
Ashubha Phalair
Phale
Evam
Moksha Se
Mokshase
Karma
Karma
Bandhana
Bandhanai
Sanyasa
Sanyasa Yoga
Yuktatma
Yuktatma
Vimukto
Vimukto
Mam
Mam
Upayashyasi.
Upaishyasi. So it says here, translation, please read.
In this way, you will be free from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me.
Okay. So in this way, you will be free from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. Because when we take the results of our efforts, we straightaway get trapped or entangled. Whereas if even mentally or at a subtle level, we give away the results to the Lord and say, I have done my best. Now you decide and give what results. You are in charge of the results. That mentality, if we can somehow cultivate, that's great, because it prevents us from getting entangled. Whereas normally our tendency is we make a lot of endeavor, let's say for an entrance exam, and then we are constantly worrying, thinking, praying, desiring, aspiring for the good results. So we get completely entangled and trapped. Then comes the results, and they may not be up to our expectations. So there's more dismay and so on. And let's just say life is cut short at this point. God forbid, but something happens, there is an accident, the person who got his results just that day, not happy at all or whatever. In the next life, he starts all over again, trying to fulfill the aspirations that he left that previous life with. Whereas, on the contrary, if we make a huge effort, whether it's an application for a job in a single minded way, let's say, whether it is for a particular marriage, if it, for some people it's very important, or a particular catch parents particularly, or if whatever be the case, a vocation, a profession, and then say the results, it's not up to me, it's up to you to give. That's a very safe position to be in. But it's very difficult to develop this kind of mentality, because in order to put in that huge endeavor and intense focused effort itself, one has to want and want and want. Otherwise, where will that extra effort come from? Unless one is so fully soaked in this knowledge that we are not in control, we are not in charge of the results. You do see sometimes nowadays, you see, I keep hearing all the time, some great, some important lady professor, only one child. Everything was going nicely. She had a, she was going to retire. Her only son's marriage was arranged. Marriage took place. 1 month later, the son had a heart attack and died. It was most unexpected, because the boy had, as far as they could see, no congenital, no history in the family. Because of the shock and the grief, the boy's father died another month later. So now here you have this old lady in possession of the normal wealth from a middle class decent family. She has a pension. She has a husband's pension. She's just retired. What is she supposed to do? The daughter-in-law went back to her parents, and then no issue, no children, no anything. So whole life changed, and this lady then just wrote off everything and moved into, which ashram is it? I'm not getting the name now. It will come to me later. And her students and others go to see her there. She had to have a cataract operation. They took her into the cataract hospital and got it done and put her back in that ashram. So one really does not know of the boy who got married, and obviously everybody expected a normal course of events. You know, he will have children, then they will grow up, and these people will become grandparents. So whatever you do, we are not in control of the results at all, and we have to learn to tell ourselves that we are not going to. It's no use frankly even desiring, because anyway Krishna, even in our heart as Paramatma, knows what we desire. Sometimes he deliberately denies the results we are expecting, because it is in our larger interest not to get those results. Whereas in the demigods are not like that. You please them, they quickly please you back. It's really a business deal, it's not bhakti. Sometimes the result that you're getting is most harmful for you, and you realize that only later. But Krishna is not like that. He has your long-term interest, and he is, therefore, sometimes he does not give what you're expecting. So the idea is that whatever you do, give the results to me. In this way, you will be free from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results, because there is punya, auspicious, and there is papam, shubha, ashubha. Both will get you back in this cycle of birth and death, into repeated births. So the idea is to get out of that chakra or cycle. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So, of course, he's not talking about results that you can get like this, come to me within one lifetime. This is just like a startup instruction. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you do it for me, give it to me. So that then gradually the person rises and comes to actual devotional service, where he does everything only for Krishna. It's not that whatever you do, you may want to become a chartered accountant or a businessman, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, whatever austerities, do that as an offering to me, meaning at a mental level. That's very different from saying, I will become a full-time devotee and do only book distribution, or I will eat only what's been offered, or I will, etc. Every penny I get will somehow go plowed back to the temple, like some of these brahmacharis who live inside the temple. It's not like that. There's a world of difference.
So I
Right?
actually had
Yeah.
I had a doubt actually.
Yeah.
So
Go on.
like when it comes to bhakti, like it said that like if you worship a demigod, then it's like a transaction based sort of
Yeah.
thing. But is there a is it like possible? Is it still like if let's say somebody like or some devotee
Yeah.
actually has like some type of love for that demigod,
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that still come under bhakti, or is that what is that? What would that be then? Is that like
Actually, there are different shades of it. If that demigod is in some way connected with the Supreme Lord in some relationship, Now, if by a demigod you're meaning someone like Hanumanji, he is very much a dasa of
Shiva,
Lord Ram. Okay,
Shiva.
yeah, Shiva. It's the attraction or the loyalty to Lord Shiva is very genuine. Nobody will tell you to give it up. But at the same time, Krishna in the heart, if he sees it is hindering in some way, he will gradually make us forget in a way and move towards him exclusively, and not out of fear that now Shiva is going to be very angry with me because I've stopped going on Mondays to the Shiva temple. Not that mentality. It has to come naturally. It has to be a kind of natural progression over time. So Ganapati, I have heard Krishna devotees say, "How can we ever give up Ganapati? He looks so cute." Okay, he looks so cute. For some people, obviously, the elephant head and everything,
Elephant.
they say, "He's so cute." How can I have heard devotees who are very strictly following in ISKCON and great Padmanabha Bhaktas, and then she was in Bangalore and she got an ideal husband and her child is also like that, but she will still say, "Oh, how can anyone give up Ganesh? He's so cute." So that's okay because Krishna in the heart knows. It's not in any way. It's not contaminating the worship of Krishna himself. But if instead half your faith is in the demigod and half in the Lord, and you're not sure who gives better results, or you're not sure whom to trust more or give more priority or importance to, then that is not such a good situation. But whatever happens should happen very naturally, not that people kind of hold a gun to your head and tell you you should stop this from tomorrow and you should stop that from tomorrow. For example, even in our house there is this family photo of Lord Shiva that was given to my mother by her grandfather. So once we came to Krishna worship, a couple of one particular hardliner type local devotee who is very fanatical came and said, "No, no, you have to remove this." And my mother was not willing, and I didn't see why it had to be removed because I myself worshipped Shiva. The only God I knew was Lord Shiva for many years when I was in the UK and so on. So eventually, someone suggested to my mother, someone in Maipur, when she took the question, he said, "There's no need to give away that photo. Keep that photo facing the main deities in such a way, and whatever like the lamp or the agarbatti, the dhoop you offer to Krishna, Jagannath, Balaram, and so on, just also show it in the other direction." And then she carries on with her Monday in places where she could get that bilva pata. She used to offer that. Now I don't think there is bilva pata or anything, but she just offers a lamp on Monday. She remembers. So whatever happens should happen very naturally, not artificially, and you should not give up something and then be left with a great fear that you're going to get repercussions or reactions. That's a horrible fear-based mentality. It will
Yeah.
hamper you even on the path of bhakti. Does
I
that?
think I think a lot of maybe sometimes when you're a devotee like of Krishna, like you also have to sort of you also have to think about the other the other demigods as well. Like there are the other sort of like if you
Till then.
because there are all these demigods they play a part in Krishna's
Sure.
role in some way. So and also there's so much reference to Brahma and Shiva when you read the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and also they're so prominent in Indian
So
society.
many pastimes. Also in the
Yeah,
pastimes like the churning of the Milky Ocean, all
yeah.
the demigods line up for the, yeah, go on.
Yeah. So there's so much of I mean, then you have Garuda's pastime. Garuda also is like coming and he's there in that Krishna's pastime with Kalia, the serpent.
Yeah.
This scene where they explain why Garuda why was Kalia in the lake in the first place? Like what made him so basically because Garuda couldn't come and
Frightened.
attack that lake. Couldn't
Right.
come and attack that lake because the sage had put a curse or whatever. And so like that, like there's so many of these stories where there are all these demigods and you kind of grow up with that. If you grow up with that in a typical Hindu household with that mentality, then you'll end up either having some kind of affection for Shiva or this
Sure.
god or that god, this god. Krishna's also there, but then for a lot of for many people, I think for me, like in the last 1 year, I've sort of come to the realization that for Krishna, especially for Krishna, I have a special deep connection for Krishna in that sense. But I think it's like very difficult because I think in Hindu, I don't know why, but in somehow it's been put into many people's mind that the religion itself is like a, it's like a pantheistic religion. It's like a,
Hindu religion.
yeah, it's a pantheistic religion with many gods,
So
and
many gods. Yeah.
and then some people say it's pantheistic, some people say it's monopantheistic, and some people say it's all kinds of different things. And yeah, so and also the thing is like in the end, like like there's so much of different meanings to different people that you realize that after a point, like everybody has their own way of like understanding everything. And the Krishna Bhakti is actually maybe one part of the whole thing, where I am also part of that, and there are other people who are also a part of that. But like it's, yeah, that's the whole thing. You have to deal with the reality that there's all these demigods and worshippers of
Sure.
different, and
Sure.
that there can be somebody who loves Shiva just as much as they love Krishna, or they love
Sure, sure. One person, I think one of my cousins, yeah, one of the Pune cousins even asked me, uh, I can believe that Shiva will protect me, but I can't accept that this baby boy Krishna will actually ever be able to protect me, and I'm not able to get over that. You see, so it's a genuine point. What
Yeah.
Shiva represents with his austerity and his fierceness and his third eye and his jadajut and everything and his damru, it gives some sense of protection for this boy, some fierceness. And he says, how can this butter stealing, cowherd playing boy Krishna actually ever protect me? He's not able to relate at this level.
Was it a child that was saying that? Was it a
No,
young
no, no. A grown man who keeps certain vratams. I mean, he's almost 35, more.
I have this like slight like feeling like people who love Shiva, they may have had like they may not have been either close with their fathers when they were young. So and like people who were like,
What?
what do you say? I don't know, I just had this feeling like
But
it
any
must be a
logic to it? No, I mean any
because
logic
Shiva is like this very manly kind, like
represents
he has this very
represents that protective force. Yeah, you
protective
mean
force. Yeah, yeah. He has that protectiveness, and that I want to like that he'll get angry, like he'll do everything for Parvati, or for like when he realizes that he made a mistake by cutting off Ganesha's head, then
yeah.
he comes and protects him. So there's like, I mean, he feels bad for it, and then he kind of brings him back. So there's this like Shiva's always show. You don't know the pastime of Shiva. You don't know, like there's no pastime of Shiva when he's growing up and all that. So you kind of just know him as being like this adult, this father
Sure,
figure type of
sure.
person. Krishna is like you kind of know his pastime as a baby, and you know him growing up, and like him being a small baby to like him being like on the chariot with Arjuna and giving him advice, then him having like all these wives and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
as like if you have like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people who struggle with like that, who want that sternness, somebody like telling them what is important or something like that in their life. I think that's
Haven't
what
had.
attracts them to yeah, I think that's what attracts them to Shiva
It's
actually.
possible. Yeah, yeah. I think it fits what you're saying. That psychology fits. They're missing something in their own life, and there's like some father figure to protect and to show the way. It's very possible.
They
But
need somebody. They need somebody who's like firm. So
firm and forceful.
when there's somebody that's firm, Shiva kind of represents that firmness. Whereas
Right,
Krishna
right.
is very soft-hearted. Like he's very
Flexible.
loving. He's very flexible. He listens. He'll that. So to like everybody has their own different qualities and all stuff. I think also that's why I feel like sometimes those who are attracted to Shiva, it's not such a bad thing,
Uh-huh.
because if they're attracted to Shiva, that's okay, that's fine, because they for them in that time they need, that is what is like important to them in that sense. I feel
Mm,
like that
right,
Shiva
right.
represents that thing. Maybe that's the attraction.
I just wanted to point out that actually Hinduism is a very tolerant and freewheeling religion, and it gives people different options to get attracted to. Sometimes someone has a Kudumba Devi, who they are very faithful to, and then all these other demigods that you worship. We know only a fraction of the number of demigods that actually exist. So, but then there are different festivals observed for each one of them, and different local cultures and so on. And when we travel, we see for the Tamilians, Muruga worship is very important. For the Keralites, it is Shabarimalai and so on. So it's giving many options because it's taking cognizance of the fact that a jiva comes with so many inbuilt inclinations. He's bringing it from previous lives. He's already been through so many human lives, perhaps, hopefully, and he's got certain developed likes, dislikes, even when it comes to the gods. So it's but Paramatma sitting inside is there in everyone, irrespective of whether the person is a Ganapati worshipper or a great Bhakta of Shiva and so on. So at some stage, I think if the Paramatma decides to intervene and to revive that original lost relationship with the Jiva, then many things start changing. You know, the mentality of the person changes. He comes to know information about the greatness of Krishna or Vishnu. He attends a program, he sees a particular temple, he sees a photo, and things change. Then at a still later stage, once he's got on to maybe exclusively Krishna worship, like you said, if you read the Bhagavatam, they all get interconnected. The demigods are all there at the edge of the Milky Ocean with Brahma leading them, praying to Krishna that, you know, the demons are harassing them. Please come and intervene and send someone. The demigods are there again at the churning of the Milky Ocean because they also want to taste the nectar, and they have different roles to play. So the more we read and the more we equip ourselves with this real authorized knowledge coming from scripture or the Bhagavata, I think it all starts falling into place. You know, at the same time in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, there was a character called Murari Gupta who was remained very loyal to Hanumanji, and he even consulted Lord Chaitanya once, said, try as I might, I don't feel for Krishna what I feel for Hanuman. And I think Lord Chaitanya, there's an interesting conversation where he says that's absolutely fine. We just keep going like that. Because these are deep inclinations that are happening at the level of the soul that nobody has a right to actually interfere with.
That could be something similar to, like, I mean, it could be like Shiva consciousness, and that's arisen in them, like something that's similar to like Krishna consciousness, where the devotee is like like you're attracted to one particular, yeah, like you're attracted to some person, right? So similarly, the other person is attracted to this, but there's something that there's some quality that you're attracted to in that makes you, and like in their mind, that is what attract, like Hanuman, for example. uh, there's that famous Neem Karoli
Baba.
Baba.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's, I mean, there's this like there's a famous devotee of his, Krishna Das, who a lot of, he puts a lot of music and all that. He has a
You
YouTube
mean a
channel.
Western, the Western Krishna Das. Yeah, yeah.
Western.
Yeah.
So he, like, I mean, they are very devoted to Hanuman. But like, but if you listen to what they say at the, they'll, it's not like it's coming from a pure place of love, like a
Yeah.
pure loving place, and you can't deny that love. And I think, like, even Krishna also wouldn't be like, that love is not true. That's also true. That's also correct.
Uh-huh.
But like, that that this person loves Hanuman, but I love Hanuman as well, or I love this person. So it's like kind of, what do you say? Like, you know, you can't. I mean, that's what the point I was trying to make is, like, it's very. Love itself is also very flexible in that sense. Like, it's very, like,
Accommodating, do you mean it
yeah,
is
yeah,
varied, accommodating? It's
yeah,
different for different people.
yeah. It's different for different. Like, it's flexible. Like, one, you don't know who somebody will fall in love with. Who, like, you're not
Right,
sure
right, right.
about
Yeah,
that. So that's what.
but the point I think here is, for example, someone who is actually a Shiva Bhakta, okay, someone is a Hanuman Bhakta. I think after some time, if he's really into his Hanuman worship, surely he will get very curious about the object of
Yeah,
Hanuman's worship, that is Ram himself. And what is so great about this? Why Ram? Why Ram? I mean, why is Hanuman so devoted that you have this very graphic images? He's tearing open his chest, and Ram, Sita, Lakshman, or at least Ram and Sita sitting inside the chest. So, what is this about that Lord Ram, this perfect God and the Maryada Purushottam? So, like that, I think a person may make, if you want to call it progress, some progress, or
Come.
something may evolve. Something may certainly evolve. And it's also, I think, a question of people not getting full satisfaction, because Krishna can be approached in five different ways, as a child, as a lover, as a friend, as a lord whom you serve.
Sakyaras.
Yeah, those rasas. And he is called Akhila Rasamrita, not Sindhu, but yeah. I think he's called, he is referred to as the ocean of all rasas. So he is waiting to taste that rasa with the jiva. He's sitting there in the heart. And it depends. If we are not able to get the rasa we are looking for, when we are worshipping Shiva or Hanuman, then some things will happen and we will start searching wider. I think that's also how it.
Uh,
Uh,
Krishna's like there's so much love going around. Just I take it and accept. Like there's so much love going around. Not that many people like they have this. There's a saying. No, there's a ocean of water, but there's not a drop to drink or something like
Not a drop to drink.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
there's an
similarly,
ocean of love, but there's not a lot of devotees to like take that love and
I
use that.
think with Krishna, yeah, with Krishna, it's very much like that. That I agree. Yeah,
And actually, I had one I
yeah,
wanted to like ask you also this in the pastime of Krishna when Krishna is born. There's this like they explain this the seventh child that's born as
yeah. A
as
girl, a
Krishna,
girl.
the girl's
No,
head. So that's the plenary portion or the expansion of Krishna's external energy or something like
no.
that,
One
right?
minute. That is the girl child who slips out of
Yeah,
Kamsa's. Yeah, that
yeah.
is kind of a sister
That
that's born. Yeah,
sister that's born. But I had a doubt. So Balaram is supposed to be the seventh child, right?
because he is born to a different mother.
Okay.
It's the same father, but he's born to a different mother.
Oh.
He's born to Rohini.
So he was not conceived. Okay, so
He is
his
the elder brother who was already born far away, and nobody knew that.
oh, okay. So he was not like I mean there was this part right where they have exchanged souls or they exchanged jivas for that is that Balaram's state?
No, it's true what you're saying. Balaram kind of moves out of the womb
Ah,
and is moved into the womb of his, ultimately, the lady who becomes his biological mother. That's how Balaram gets saved. Then, deliberately to mislead Kamsa, because Kamsala is all looking out for the eighth child, and actually the eighth child is born and is already born, or and then this girl child appears and Kamsa thinks he's just dealt with the eighth child, but she slips out, and then comes the next child, that is Krishna. It's basically to confuse the whole situation,
okay.
you know
And she's actually and then she herself is supposed to be Durga or Kali as
No,
a
that's simple because any material energy means any of those Shakta Devi Rupas. You can call it Maya, Kali, Durga, anything, Parvati, not the Lakshmi version. The Lakshmi is the consort of Vishnu, and then you have Krishna's consorts, Rukmini, Radha, Satyabhama, like that. But this is specifically the Shakta or the Shakti version of the material energy. She has a role to play, and she is the embodiment of the material energy, and she's basically, her job is to keep all jivas imprisoned in this jail, to tempt us and to allure us and give us what we are keep praying for: a happy family, a happy life, beauty, success, and so on. And she's worshipped in many forms, the same names that you all mentioned just now: Durga Devi, Parvati, Shakti, and so on.
so this because in that in reading that
Yeah.
pastime it says that Durga comes out and says I think she said oh Kamsa you know the killer of the destruction of you
Has
who's
already
already born
taken
has
birth.
already
Yeah,
taken
yeah,
birth.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's already taken birth
he's already taken
because
birth.
I'm sorry that I'm mixing up the chronology or the sequence. You're right. So that means Krishna has already been born and he has been smuggled out, in the basket, and they have crossed the ocean, the Yamuna, and so on, and gone away. And then this girl appears, uh, uh, uh,
Oh, I
pretending to,
think I
yeah,
think it may have been. I think it may have been that she was born. The seventh child may have been born, but then after she was born, then Krishna's uh, Krishna was born after that, and then he takes Krishna to the boat, and by the time he comes back, by the time Vasudeva comes back, she's still there. The seventh child is still there, and so then Kamsa comes, then then she goes up, and then I mean she flies up in the sky or whatever, and then she said that your child is already born. He's already born in a different
yeah,
place.
yeah. But isn't it the eighth child of Devaki that is going to be the killer of Kamsa? It is the eighth. Isn't the figure eight the
Yeah,
correct one?
it's so what I was thinking was that I thought like the seventh child is born and the eighth child is born after the seventh, and
Yeah.
then by the time Kamsa doesn't come to take the kill the seventh child, so like Krishna is born also, um, and what happens is that Krishna, there's a voice that says that take this child to
Yeah, yeah.
this place or whatever.
Akashavani. Yeah.
And the seventh child is already born. I think I'm not sure. I think this is what feel. But the seventh child is already born and is there. And by the time he comes back, Kamsa thinks, "Oh, this is the seventh child," but he doesn't realize maybe that there's already an eighth child already born, and the Vasudev has already taken him and put him in that place. And then he's come back also, and the seventh child is still there in that same place. And then that's when that baby goes up in the air and says that "Oh, Kamsa, you fool, the child is already born there," and whatever.
You
I
see,
thought it
no,
was like,
no, we need to check the chronology
yeah, I
with
think
the
we should.
Krishna book. But basically, Balaram's is that pregnancy that is kind of transported out of one womb and into the womb of another mother. So Balaram is taken care of. He is the elder brother, and he naturally has to have been born before Krishna appeared. The confusion is between this girl child and Krishna. My understanding is that after Balaram is the pregnancy itself is transported, and it happens somewhere else. Then so they straight away, it means that Kamsa will fall into miscalculation because one child has already gone off there, right? Then comes, I think, Krishna, who is born, and the shackles of the prisoners break,
Oh,
and they take him.
they exchange the child, no? They go. Vasudeva
Yeah, yeah.
goes and takes Krishna to to Nanda and Yashoda's child there. They take that original baby of Yashoda Nanda and they bring them back, bring that child back.
And
So
the child
and
back is
that's
the girl child. Is it the girl
yeah.
child? Yes,
I think
yes.
that's the thing.
Okay, okay. That's it.
I
That
think
explains it.
I think
That
that's
they
what it is.
swap, like you say, they swap.
They
Okay,
swap the thing, and so
that
that
explains.
child goes up, and then she's Durga Ma,
Right,
and
right,
that
right.
child is actually then that she is the sister of Krishna, or
Right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
solve the mystery of the universe.
Okay. So let's just look at the purport to this verse
Yeah.
28. You just read the translation. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Purport: one who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called yukta. Yukta just means
So,
to connect, to be connected. Yoga itself means to connect with the supreme. This technical term is yukta vairagya. Vairagya normally means detachment, not vairagya as in the Malayalam, which apparently means you are determined to take revenge. Someone pointed that out. That is Malayalam, but the original here in Sanskrit, vairagya actually means a certain kind of detachment. You are attached to Krishna but detached from the material world. That's the point. Yukta is that you are connected and linked to the Supreme Lord. but you're detached from the material world. So what does that mean? You take everything that the material world provides and use it in the service of the Lord that you are attached to. That is Yukta Vairagya. This is Rupa Goswami gives this very nice, or rather, this particular definition. And Anashaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjatah Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchate. All right, now leave that. And the translation, please read. Rupa Goswami says,
Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, actions are performed. If actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually, situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind, and as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyoti, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly stated here, Mam Upayashyasi, he comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. There are five different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting his body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in association of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant, dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as a service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. But although a pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so. It is said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. The exact words are Tanra Vakya Kriya Mudra Vigneha Na Vijaya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 23, chapter 23, text 39. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord or is always thinking and planning on how to serve the Lord is to be considered completely liberated at present. And in the future, his going back home, back to God is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticism, just as Krishna is above all criticism.
actually, in the 12th chapter, Prabhupada gives a very revolutionary definition of samadhi. Normally, when we say samadhi, we say this person took samadhi. I mean, when his death was near, he meditated, and then the soul left the body, and he's sitting completely still. Then he's placed in samadhi, which means, you make a structure around, and then people come and worship at the samadhi. The 12th chapter, Prabhupada gives a very revolutionary and very free kind of translation or definition, where he says someone, let's say the rank and file devotee who has joined a temple, he lives off what the temple gives him, but from morning to evening he's only thinking about jobs he has to do connected with the Krishna temple. He drives a car, he goes to the supermarket, he selects the fruits and vegetables that the temple manager has asked him to select carefully for the next cooking. He comes back. Before that, he's cleaned the temple. Before that, of course, he's had his bath and attended the morning prayers and done his chanting. Or then he goes to select the flower. Prabhupada says such a person is actually in a state of samadhi, because he doesn't get a chance to think about anything but Krishna directly or indirectly from morning to evening, except, of course, if something cuts in. He gets a call from his family, he has to come, father is dying or whatever, or there is he's called up by the manager that some money is missing. That's different. So Prabhupada is saying that is actual real samadhi. You don't have to sit down in a place and meditate and leave your soul in a particular way, and then people have to come and build a structure around you. It's a pretty revolutionary translation of samadhi. We'll come to it in the 12th chapter. Okay, so Prabhupada actually makes Bhakti Yoga very relatable and very real and down to earth and in the modern context. All right, so let's stop here because it's 6:10 and I'm feeling a bit tired
Yeah.
because my health is not so good. So next class we are starting with 29, remember. And 30 is a very crucial, sensitive, but hard to actually put into practice verse.
Mm.
29 and 30, 31. We are getting to the end of the chapter. There are only 34 verses. So we won't
Uh,
hurry. We won't
but ninth
hurry.
chapter, ninth chapter is taking a lot of time.
Long time. But it
Long.
is a kind of crucial chapter. And then in between some 2 weeks, I couldn't teach because of health and other
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah.
It
No,
happened
but
more than
it's good this way because like
to
we can
churn.
more with more detail and we can like
Right.
we can discuss like a lot of other things also like it's
Sure. We
like
can discuss a lot of other things. Have you been listening to Wisdom of the Sages again? My friend
yeah,
Shamala told me to look out for Wisdom of the Sages 2 weeks ago. They interviewed this Ravi Gupta, Radhika
yeah,
Raman Prabhu. Yeah,
I've seen that.
she just sent me the link. I was just looking now. She said there's some
I've
interesting points. Take a look at
I've
it.
seen like like I see every episode of that because
I
like
see.
morning when I get up like it's part of my like routine like I'll get up in the morning and then along with the routine I'll just listen to this wisdom sages and all stuff.
No, 1 minute. So the Wisdom of the Sages is also interviews or only interviews, or how does it
No, no,
work?
no. So they are actually what they're doing is that they're discussing the Bhagavatam every day. So they're discussing like they go like they're like us like how we are discussing the Bhagavad Gita now. So they are also like discussing the Bhagavatam like chapter by verse, and they're having their own discussion like that.
And sometimes they have guest
They
speakers.
sometimes they'll have guest speakers.
Oh, so
So
otherwise it is this Raghunath and Kaustuba, is it?
Raghunath Kasturba, yeah, and that there's a lady called Mara. She's like manages the video meeting and all that stuff. But what they do is that from Monday to Friday they'll be discussing their schedule is like Monday Tuesday, Monday to Friday they'll be discussing the Bhagavatam, and then Saturday they'll have this thing called Q&A. So on Saturdays they do
Question and
Q&A.
answers.
So yeah, so that people will ask questions and they'll answer those questions. And then Sunday is the day where they'll find somebody to interview.
I
So
see. Okay, okay,
they're
got it.
so yeah, so like so one they do interviews like once a week with somebody. And
But that interview is again part of the chronology going through the Bhagavatam? Is
no,
it
no,
like
no,
that?
that
No,
is no, that is separate.
some
That
different topic.
yeah, that they'll get somebody who they think is interesting or they think is like in the like in the ISKCON movement in like somebody who's like in like Ravi Gupta, this person. Then they got somebody who some lady that I remember they got once who came out with a drawing book for children. Like there's a Krishna like drawing book for children and all that stuff. She made that and they wanted to put her like show her and discuss with her about that.
Do
Then there
you
was
mean
somebody.
do you mean Urmila?
I'm not sure. I don't know the name. I'm not sure the name, but I
Okay, go
forgot the
on.
name. But then like that. There's like also they got somebody called Edwin. Do you know Edwin Bryant?
Yeah, the name is very familiar, Edwin Bryant. Why? But he must be having another spiritual name by which I know him.
Uh, he actually just goes by Edwin. But I think he had a special name, but he changed it back. I think.
Maybe he
But
left. Okay.
he's still there in that. So he was like discussing about like
Go on.
they'll get all kinds of people. They'll get like people slightly outside the movement or in the movement or
I
but
see.
everything will be connected to Krishna in
I
some way. Like
understand.
they'll all,
Understand.
they'll all have
Uh-huh.
they'll all have somebody, you know. But at the
Okay.
same time, like you also have to kind of like like you're also getting very close into their lives. Like they'll discuss about their own personal lives, they'll things that they dealt with. They're all like
Okay.
part of the punk rock scene
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they were
yeah. I know. In New York.
so
Uh-huh.
yeah. So Raghunath had a band. Kastuba had a was not didn't have a band, but he was also a fan of that kind of music genre. And they discuss how when they were like Raghunath was 20 years old, he learned about the Gita and then he traveled to India. He stayed in India for 7 years and he lived in an ashram for 7 years. Kastuba said that he lived in an ashram in India for 15 years. So they have like they've lived in India, so they've like kind of understand the culture in a lot of
Okay.
ways, and they a lot of respect for the tradition, the customs, and all that stuff. So they have like a very interesting talk. They have a lot of these stories and all that stuff. They keep discussing what all they did when they were traveling and when they were like meeting different people and all that stuff. So that like all that is like very interesting. like this year.
And one of them is a disciple of you said Tamala Krishna
Yeah,
Maharaj.
that is Kaustubha. Kaustubha said
Kaustuba.
that. Yeah, Kaustubha said that he's a disciple of Tamal Krishna Goswami,
I
and
see.
uh, and then Raghunath. I think Raghunath also is master. I think Raghunath's teacher also I think was Tamal Krishna Goswami, but he said he also had some other he also had another master also before him. But I don't know the name of that.
Anyway, that's great that you got on to wisdom of the sages, because some of the kind, these are the kind of leading uh, non-establishment, not ISKCON establishment, but more free thinking, good things that are happening. One is wisdom of the sages. One of this late morning program, Namaras podcast. Then what else is that? That's the second one. Chaitanya Charan is okay, Monk's podcast, but nowadays I don't see much of Chaitanya Charan's coming out. Uh,
Siddhanejaran, he does all these. I listen to him. I still listen to him. Like he's got these videos he does in ISKCON, like Australia and all that. He's right now in Australia.
yeah,
Like
that's right. He travels a lot now.
yeah, if you search for Chaitanya Charan like on YouTube now,
Spiritual
and
science.
no, you
He's
just
got
type
his,
his name. Just type
yeah,
his
yeah.
name. If you just type his name, and then in the filters on YouTube, just select up latest or upload time.
Okay, I
Find the
understand.
latest. You find the latest videos of, and he's like doing these classes in Australia. So 1 hour 36 minute classes on ISKCON. So actually, he still puts out videos, but those videos are not from his channel. It'll be some other
Oh, I
guru for
understand. Because, yeah, because otherwise his site is the spiritual scientist. You see, that's his regular. But like you said, if he's traveling to different temples, naturally those temples will be
yeah.
hosting and putting out this. Anyway, I'm
His
happy.
yeah, his talks are really nice. I actually like Chandra because he's like
Mm,
his story also is very it's kind
inspiring.
of inspiring also. He kind of I think he said he grew up without a mother.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
grew
yeah.
up without a
Lot of
father and he
tragedies.
was
Lot of,
handicapped,
yeah, yeah.
can't walk,
Polio. That's right. And
can't
then,
walk, and and now and a lot of people like respect him. He's I think one of the only few people who have this like respect in that I think people kind of listen to him and they agree with like what like they want to hear what he's saying.
I
That's
see.
interesting because a lot of people like there are many people I think all the people who give talks and all that. Like there's this one person I saw on YouTube channel of one this senior devotee or whatever, but I don't want to say the like name of that person. But may I tell you after that? Okay, I think I should just,
Yeah,
end the
yeah, yeah.
recording.
End it.
One second. All right, bye guys. Once again.